You've taken quite a clear stance then in your statements on how Twitter is using its moderation policy, even on tweets from President Trump. What's made you speak out on this? Why did you decide to?
Okay, good morning. Well, why have I decided to be clear about this? We are discussing with the platforms the way how to make the content legal, but also how to make it less harmful, which is connected with disinformation and misinformation. And Twitter is a kind of following the method and the ideas we have developed for Europe, because we are going to work on some rules for European Union in this area. So they did on American territory and vis-a-vis American president what we are thinking about in Europe. And I think it was brave and it was risky decision. So I just wanted to support Twitter on that.
Do you think we're going to see, Mrs. Commissioner, more social media platforms, more social media networks taking responsibility for the content that we can see on their websites?
Up to now, it's very inconsistent on how they approach the issue. But I can tell you, when I was in America, in the United States, I think 4 years ago, there was still a debate about absolute no-go for any kind of moderating the content referring to the First Amendment of the Constitution. And now you see that also American platforms are considering some methods how to not censor. We are never speaking about censorship, but how to label the misinformation or disinformation, and how to equip the readers with the facts and figures. So I think that we will have to work on more consistent approach, and especially for the EU, we would like to have some rules in place by the end of this year.
Yes, and I think the European Commission is due to issue a communication on disinformation next week. You can tell us what's going to be in that communication if you can, but if not, what are you thinking about heading into that? What should we watch for?
Of course, I can inform already now that we are going to announce how we are tackling with the issue of disinformation in COVID-19 context. So there is a lot of information about what has been done, what we are doing now, what we plan to do. And the cooperation with the platforms has a prominent role in our plan and in everything we are doing, because we had a very clear agreement with the platforms that they will give some prime time or priority space for the information from the health authorities, so that the people have the direct access to reliable, trustworthy information, and that they will diminish the impact of the disinformation which appeared in massive amounts in the networks. But this is just a partial work or part of our work. By the end of the year, we will propose the legislation which will increase the responsibility of the platforms in relation to illegal content, because not all the content is legal in Europe. Freedom of expression has the priority, but is not absolute in Europe for very good also historic reasons. And we will also announce how to protect elections and democracy against the impact of disinformation. So this is sequencing of work, and next week it will be COVID-related fight against disinformation. Very concrete and very clear.
Of course, there's always been a lot of talk, even an investigation into the U.S. Election, and the role of disinformation on social media played a big part in that story. Do you expect disinformation on social media platforms on the internet to play a big role in European elections that are coming up? For example, the German election next year?
We have to be vigilant because this is obviously the factor which is influencing the will and preferences of the voters. We already took lessons from the American presidential elections and some other elections and Brexit referendum last year. We took the lesson last year before the European elections. We intensified our work against disinformation and fact-checking, and also the protection against cyber attacks and so on. And we will continue to do so because every elections in the EU matter, German elections and any others. And we really want to keep the elections in Europe to be the fair competition of real people, of real ideas and the visions. And we don't want this to be just a competition who can pay for dirty methods like we saw with Cambridge Analytica method, or who can lie better, or who can pay more for dirty campaign, or even who can deploy artificial intelligence. These are the things we do not want in Europe, and we will do everything to protect the fairness of the elections in the EU.
And I understand that the European Union is considering next steps after Germany's top court gave that ruling, the Constitutional Court gave that ruling on the ECB. What do you think that decision by the Constitutional Court in Germany means for the ECB? What are the consequences? As for the legal assessment of the decision itself and its consequences, we are still analyzing and preparing a reaction, which I cannot now tell you more about. But already the day after the decision was taken in Karlsruhe, we said clearly that the European Court of Justice has the last word in interpreting the EU law, that we fully recognize the independence of ECB, and also that the EU law has the primacy over the national law, which was already agreed on as a basic principle for the EU many years ago. These are the principles which must not be changed or put into question, and we were very clear about that in the very first moment after the decision was announced.